Is there any pain that's worse than stepping on a Lego? I know women say like childbirth and everything. Clearly, those women have never stepped on a Lego piece. In that brief moment that you step on your kid's Lego piece, you actually feel like Spartan kicking them and simultaneously giving them up for adoption. It's like the worst feeling in the world. Obviously, it passes and then you eventually become, a responsible, normal adult slash parent. But honestly, I don't even wish stepping on a Lego piece to my like worst enemy ever. I'm not that evil, okay? But all jokes aside, this channel's not about Legos, okay? Get out of here with that nonsense. We're actually going to be taking a look at some of the best custom Marvel Legends action figures out there at the moment. And I should reiterate, some of these are not technically Marvel Legends. It could be a Mesco, it could be a Mafex action figure, even a DC Multiverse base body mold that somebody, takes liberties with. They get crazy, they get unique, they customize an action figure, and sometimes these are absolute bangers. And in today's video, I'm going to try to put together a small little list for you guys to enjoy. I've always said it, I thoroughly enjoy putting these videos together for you guys, and I hope that you guys enjoy the content just as much. Make sure to stay tuned. Make sure to stick around if you guys like this type of rambling action figure content, because I do upload pretty consistently. At the moment of this recording, for like the last couple of weeks, we've been uploading on a daily basis. So as I said, if you guys enjoy it, definitely stick around. Without further ado, without wasting any more saliva, I wanted to talk first and foremost about 3 custom head sculpts that I found while browsing around looking for custom action figures. And I have to say, they have quite a bit of selection when it comes down to head sculpts on eBay. They're getting very creative. They're expanding their capabilities. And that's exactly what we see here. There's a Human Torch head. There's a Bullseye custom head sculpt and a custom Punisher Noir head sculpt. All 3 of these definitely drew my eye. The one that definitely pops a little bit more for me has to be that Bullseye head sculpt. I don't know what it is about the mouth and the way that it's smirking, the way it's smiling. It just has like a very evil demeanor. It's very difficult to capture that in plastic form, especially when it's just one simple expression, but I think they did an absolutely phenomenal job. The Human Torch head sculpt as well, it's just, it catches your eye. That translucent plastic just looks so good. Now, I will say, it's probably going to be very difficult to put this figure together because that translucent plastic, you probably have to match it somehow with a body mold. So you have to go out of your way to, find that right color palette to repaint the figure and, port the head sculpt on there yourself. So as I said, I always love starting off these videos with custom head sculpts just to give you guys a little taste of what's to come. But without further ado, let's get straight into the action figures now. And the first one that I thought that we would talk about is this custom dark Jean Grey X-Men action figure. Now, I do actually have this figure. It's in a box somewhere. I haven't opened it up. I haven't posed it around. It's definitely one of those figures that I want to get around to, but I really never get an opportunity to. I will say I can't really tell exactly what they did here. From what I can see, they probably added a little bit of shading to the head or to the hair, which, just makes it pop. And I believe they added a little bit of black around the eye sockets just to kind of bring out the dark era that Jean Grey was going through. I absolutely love this figure, and I will say, even though it really doesn't have to do so much with the customizer, but I just love the newer female body molds. They're getting a little bit of love, even though the articulation is still not exactly where I want it to be. We're still getting figures that have absolutely no ab articulation that are female characters. However, it's getting better. We're now getting pinless joints. We're getting double jointed knees, double jointed elbows. It's definitely moving in the right direction. I still feel like Hasbro needs to go through a massive overhaul when it comes to their female characters. But this one is a really good figure, and it's still in that affordable price point. If you're looking to pick this one up, you'll be paying about $120 to $130, which is pretty reasonable for custom figures out there. Now, I've been speculating on Deadpool variants for quite a long time. I actually mentioned it in my previous video where we talked about essentially speculation, rumors, things of that nature regarding Hasbro, and I'm just very pleasantly surprised to see a Cowboy Deadpool Marvel Legends custom figure on eBay. It's really cool. You can definitely tell that the customizer is going all out. I think we've even seen like a baby Deadpool variant custom on eBay as well, and you know, it was semi-affordable, but it's really cool. I like to see the community getting crazy with it, getting creative, giving us those Deadpool variants, because even though I do believe that Hasbro will eventually give us some Deadpool variants from the Wolverine Deadpool film, I just don't feel that they're going to come soon enough. I think they're probably in the works. It's probably you know, a work in progress, but I still feel like they're maybe like a year or two out. Let's keep things in perspective here. It's sad to say it, but sometimes the action figure manufacturers, or just the merchandising aspect of it, is always like a little bit behind the actual live films, especially for the MCU, because they don't want any spoilers to get leaked. And so sometimes even on like the cutting room floor, they'll edit some stuff out. They'll, you know, change color palette, you know, sometimes even rewrite entire sections of the film. We know that this happened with Captain America. There were like a bunch of reshoots and rewrites. So I think this is just something that happens, and usually like Hasbro and all these companies are behind by a little bit. So I think we'll eventually start to get some really cool Deadpool variants. I don't think we're going to get like every single one, but I think they'll throw in a few here and there. Whether they'll do a Cowboy Deadpool, I'm not 100% sure, but you can hold out hope, or you can go ahead and pick up this figure. And as I said, there's definitely a lot of love put into these figures, and I do really hope that this figure finds a loving home to be able to go to. Next up, we have the Agent Venom Thunderbolts custom Marvel Legends action figure. This is essentially taking that old school Agent Venom from, I believe it was that Walgreens exclusive Venom. They're essentially just, you know, throwing some red paint where the white is supposed to be at, throwing a sealant on there, and then probably going back and doing a little bit more red and then another sealant. It's pretty simple. And to be brutally honest, it's something that I tried my hand at not too long ago. I ended up getting rid of it, but it's a really cool figure. It's a neat design. It's a really cool idea. The only problem that I have with this figure is that we just got an updated Agent Venom that has way better articulation, way better tech all around. I think the only thing that this particular Agent Venom was missing was the tendrils. I think we'll eventually get like a deluxe version of this Punisher with the actual tendrils. But if you guys are interested in getting a Thunderbolt version, you guys can now pick this up. I will say, I don't know why it's taken Hasbro this long to give us a Thunderbolt version. If you can see what the customizer did here, it's very easy. It's simply just a repaint. That's all you really have to do. To me, it just seems like a huge missed opportunity from Hasbro. And it is worth mentioning, this figure is like incredibly affordable. The customizers keeping in mind that, you know, it was kind of a simplistic little update to the figure. They essentially just did a small little tweak in terms of paint applications. However, I still think it's, you know, massively underpriced. I think if you pick this figure up right now, you're looking at about like $60 to $70. I'm going to assume that the price dropped a little bit because of the new Punisher, but still, it's a pretty affordable figure. It's actually, like I said, it's massively outdated, but if you're just looking for something to fill in your Thunderbolts display, this will be absolutely perfect for you. Then we have this live action John Bernthal Marvel Legends custom action figure, and I have to say this probably has the most amount of value here. There's gun cases, there's a bunch of different weapon accessories. There's, I believe, like a cloth jacket that will also be included. Not to mention that head sculpt just looks absolutely phenomenal. I do believe that we'll eventually get this Punisher way down the line, but it's cool to see people going out there customizing their own versions and putting them together. It's also worth mentioning that the original one that got released during the peak of the Marvel Netflix universe, that one's actually pretty expensive. Last I checked, I think it was going for well over $100. It might have dropped. I haven't really checked recently, but I do remember at its height it was like 120 to 140. So the fact that somebody's going out there putting this little lot together for you and offering it at roughly about like 170 with, fees and taxes and everything, I think it's an absolute bargain deal. Sometimes you'll see a lot of custom action figures where it's just like a minor repaint or something along those lines, and they're asking for about like 110 to 120. Here you're getting a bunch of extras for about like 150 to 160. I think this is some great value when it comes to custom action figures. I also ran across this custom White Tiger action figure, and I have to say the picture that this eBay seller took is too cold, okay? There was literally a tear running down my eye socket when I saw this image. And I don't want to spoil anything. I guess this is like spoiler territory. But if you see the image or the first image for this listing, and you've already watched the first 4 episodes of the Disney Plus Daredevil show, you'll understand why this is an absolute gut punch. How dare you, okay? But seriously, it's a great figure. I just don't understand why Hasbro has been so reluctant to actually give us a White Tiger action figure. As I said at the beginning, maybe it is on its way. It just hasn't gotten here because they didn't know the details about what characters were going to be featured on the show, or maybe they did know, but they didn't have like the actual designs for the costumes, and that's probably why they decided to kind of push back the releases for these figures. That way they can actually get the characters or the figures to be way more screen accurate. So I think that this will be right around the corner. It is worth mentioning, I don't know exactly what this figure is going to eventually go for because it is still in the early stages of an auction. So this could go, really high, or it could go for about like $50 to $60. Only time will tell. If you guys are interested in this figure, definitely keep an eye on it. At the moment of this recording, you're looking at like $50 to $60, which is actually not a very bad deal. I would probably jump in there if you're really interested in a White Tiger figure and just see if you're able to maybe steal an auction like this. Sometimes it happens, there are people just busy with life or other action figures, and sometimes they'll forget about, an auction, and, sometimes you'll be able to get a really good deal. So definitely keep an eye on this if you're interested in this figure. Next up, we have an action figure that is technically not Marvel Legends, but I think it popped up in my feed because I guess they're using a Marvel Legends body mold. We're talking about Savage Dragon, one of the most beloved comic book characters of all time, and it's really interesting. Now I will say I don't like when they don't give us an idea of the scale for some of these listings. I went through like the first few images. Maybe there was an image later in the listing, I couldn't really tell, but I scroll through like maybe 3-4 images, and I couldn't really get a sense for how tall the figure is. So I think that's pretty important. Scale is important to a lot of people, and this figure looks really well. It comes with a few extra accessories and things of that nature, but I would have loved to have an idea of the size and the scale of the figure, because it does appear to be a little bit small. I'm going to assume that's because they're using the Marvel Legends body mold, and that's why maybe that's what's really throwing me off here. But as I said, it is a beloved comic book character. There are a lot of people that jump over from reading comic books to actually collecting action figures. So if this is a character that you're interested in, definitely keep an eye on this listing. And it's worth mentioning, it's pretty affordable. It's like low 100s for a figure that we don't see pretty consistently. I can't even remember the last time we got a Savage Dragon action figure. Maybe we've never gotten a 1/12 scale articulated Savage Dragon, but if you guys are interested, like I said, this is definitely a great option for you. And then yes, we did save the best for last. I thought we would take a look at this Marvel Legends custom Rhino action figure, and don't even ask me what base body mold this is. I literally have no idea. From what I can tell, this is definitely a slimmed down version of Rhino. It's like it has a more athletic build than the Marvel Legends Rhino that we've been getting. I think has been re-released like 3 to 4 different times by now. But that one's like really thick and bulky, and it's really wide. The articulation is not great. According to the description anyways, it appears that they did some modifications to this particular body mold to get it to articulate incredibly well and also display, with some great detail. You can definitely tell that they went above and beyond when it came down to the sculpt work all around the body. This figure, I think, is just a work of art. As I said, I love the fact that it's like a more athletic build. It's slimmer. It doesn't look like a character that has difficulty posing or getting into some really dynamic poses, and that's what I really love about this figure. I will say I am definitely shocked that we haven't gotten a Gamerverse Rhino. not too long ago, or I should say like maybe a month ago. They did have that, Hasbro had that live stream, and they showcased a bunch of video game Spider-Man action figures. Not to mention there was a new Black Cat. There was also a brand new deluxe Marvel Legends Venom that was based in the video game. So I'm kind of shocked that they didn't do the Rhino for the video game universe. There are people that have been clamoring for that particular version of Rhino, and I think this is kind of closer to it. It just looks sleeker and taller and not as wide as like the Marvel Legends version of Rhino that we have thus far. But there you guys have it. I'm not going to waste your time. I'm not going to waste a ton of saliva. I just wanted to make this short, sweet, and concise, and like I said, just kind of showcase some of the best action figures that are available right now for you guys. This is all about showcasing your talents, your skills, and just being able to kind of push these characters, or, you know, push these customizers to the forefront and show them some love. If you guys are interested in them, you guys can look them up. You know, I don't usually include the links to every single item, but I'll, you know, showcase a little screenshot of the actual listing and then the name of the seller, that way you guys can like look them up on eBay if you guys are interested. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I should reiterate, I am not an eBay affiliate, okay? I don't make any money off of these listings. It's just about showcasing them to you guys, and then, you know, just kind of sharing my passion for the hobby. So if you guys enjoy this type of content, as I said at the beginning, make sure to stay tuned, stick around. We do this on a daily basis. And if you guys are interested in seeing more custom action figures, there's also a playlist. So I'll throw up some thumbnails for that particular playlist, that we guys can check it out. But I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is actually the 7th entry into this video series that we have going. So if you guys, as I said, want to see more custom figures, check out the playlist. We have at least 6 other videos, if I'm doing my math correctly. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure to enjoy the hobby. That's the most important part of all this. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.